Hello and welcome to UK Cowboys Fans TV Season 4 Episode 30. I'm your host for this week, Graham Wilson. I'm returning from COVID IR, so please bear with me. If there are a couple of dead air moments, please refer to my three running backs this week that will hopefully manage me through the game. This week we've got Lorne, we've got Paul, and we've got the utility offensive lineman Richard Jones that can catch touchdown passes as well. How are we doing, gents?
What a
fantastic.
Rich,
Hey,
I am sending you in as a designated receiver. Don't kid yourself on.
Hey, Rich, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong being a utility man. Utility men can do so many things. They're very underrated.
done.
You are our Connor McGovern.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so as you can see here, the comments are coming in. Labaski's sending his wishes there because he's missed you big time, Graham. So he has.
I'll bet he has. Yeah.
And DJ Dog in there as well. Good to see you. Yes, 40 burger to free. And Joe, as always, all the way from Italy, giving us a big hello.
So, guys, make sure you send in your comments. Obviously, we're off a good result on Sunday. Guys, what's our results? Team 40 Burger has returned against the best team in the NFC East. What are we saying?
Surprised. I'll say that. I think a lot of us had it in our minds that we were going to Minnesota to lose pretty much. I had my doubts myself, and my goodness, how of a polished overall performance that was, from defense to special teams to everything. It was probably one of the best Cowboys performances I've seen probably in the last 10 years against a team that was 8-1 that's beat the Buffalo Bills the week before, and we came out and absolutely took out their number one, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, in Justin Jefferson, and stopped the run game, which has been our biggest leak throughout the game. And we were just, I hate to use the word amazing, but we were.
Yeah.
I can't really put any negatives thoughts, and this is going to be hard for quite a lot of us because normally when I kind of say something negative, but I can't really think of anything negative in that performance at all.
Can you think of anything negative, Lauren?
The officials, but that was about it,
but that's no Cowboys related, though. That's
no, I know. But they did their best to screw us over, and I'm pretty sure it might have been a different story if Maher had missed the second kicking of the 60-yarder. That might have been a momentum changer. But
then it's a good thing Maher is a freaking machine.
Hey, listen. I will praises to Brett Money Maher right now, and I think I speak for I think we speak quite a lot for a lot of Cowboys fans out there in terms of how wrong are we about Brett Maher. He's came in with, we were like, oh no, why are we bringing him back in again? And but my goodness, he has, since he's left Dallas, he's reinvented himself. He's came back and he has been nothing but exceptional. He's made I think he's only missed 2 field goals, but that was maybe down to wind or down etc. And it's based on really bad conditions. And it was I think one of them was against the New York Giants, and I can't remember
the other was Philadelphia. The other was Philadelphia at Philadelphia.
There you go.
So they were both outdoors, both 59-yarders. So
yeah. So, but yeah, Brett Maher, you have redeemed yourselves, good sir. Just don't crush my hopes.
Don't go back. Don't go back. We don't want to be going back. The really impressive thing was to go and do that, to get over that, to make that kick the first time, because it's been a bit of a thing for him. He makes the kick, sneaks it in, the elation, and then to be brought slamming back down.
Yep.
When it was all reviewed, and then, okay, you got to go do it again. And the second kick was better than the first. The second one was
oh my god!
Brett, even more on it.
That's the thing. Like you said, Brett Maher. I was like, you know what, referee, you actually done me a wee favor. Let me just kind of make it even better.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite happy with the first one. Let me do it again. It's just, hey, there you go. There, that's better.
It was bang down the middle as well, the second one.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So, question for all of you. See if you can give me a definitive answer on this one.
Okay.
Which unit contributed most to the win on Sunday?
It has to be, well, I wouldn't say running game as such. I say it's more the hybrid of using our running backs in terms of how we distributed Tony Pollard, because he was pretty much our number one wide receiver in that game. We mixed it up quite well. So I would say it's kind of, if you're going to put it to a specific group, I would put it to our running backs.
The reason I asked the question is because, yes, you've got Team Fortyburg over on the offense, but you've also got a defense that shut down a pretty good offense. 10 points wins that game on Sunday. So, Rich, Lauren, what do you guys think?
I have to agree. To be honest, I was actually saying if Parsons hadn't actually managed to get the strip sack on the third play from scrimmage, and the Vikings had managed to march that ball down the field. From that point on, Cousins was looking rocky as anything. I mean, he was ducking and diving, even when there wasn't anything there. It was almost going back to who was Sam Darnold when he said, "Oh, I'm seeing ghosts." It was almost like that. There was pressure coming, and obviously on that first sack as well, we knocked Darisaw out of the game as well. And after that, their left tackle was a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
The one with it was the sack with DeMarcus Lawrence as well. Yeah,
that was the nail. I think that was the nail in the coffin when D-Law got through. It was like literally through the middle, was it not? They came back from the inside to get the sack.
Yeah, pretty much. He dodged around and then swum up on the inside and went arm over.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned when you mentioned the 10 points there. I saw a lot of the tweets from the Minnesota fans saying it's like, oh, how can about the holding call, a non-holding call on Diggs on Jefferson. So, oh, he should have been called for us. And obviously, yeah, you're right. It should have been, but it still would have been 40 points to 10. So you're still going to lose. So it makes no sense.
That's when you're picking up one or two refereeing calls like that as the cause. That's a pretty.
It's very, it's very fun. It's a fun they're trying to get some small victories in terms of that argument, but it's just they were just completely outclassed in this game, and it's something that we have not actually said all year. We've not used that once this year. It was outclassed, and my goodness, we outclassed an 8-1 team. For anyone to criticize the Cowboys, I don't care what this we had Shady McCoy on Speak saying, I'd rather have Kirk Cousins than Dak Prescott. Look who's not talking this week. You know what I mean? It's like you can say whatever you want, Shady McCoy, but the fact is you just got absolutely wrecked on national television.
Some people are just Cowboys haters. So, Rich, who are you giving the game ball to, offense or defense?
I think it's got to be defense for me, because I think we all had a fair amount of faith that it was going to be a case of knocking off rust, especially for Dak, him getting back into things, him looking like there's a couple of comments come in already saying he was looking a lot more himself, a lot more mobile. There was a lot more plays in there that he typically does. When you can have your weakness as a team or as a unit not be a factor and play up to that level, you got something good going on. Mm-hmm. The run defense wasn't a problem at all. And add to that then 7 sacks in one game, even we're really not used to that on a regular basis with this unit we've had, or this core that we've had last year and this year. It's not a very common thing. The defense definitely held them back. The fact that they only held them to 3 points, that first drive where they held them out, that was a real hit. Like their first proper drive when they got down to the red zone now, not obviously the very first drive.
Yeah.
But when they got down there and holding them out, that really knocked them.
mean, I'm just looking at the Minnesota rushing statistics right now. I mean, Dalvin Cook for 11 carries, 72 yards. His longest was 17 yards. So that was probably the biggest gain in terms of fruit their whole offense. Because even from their wide receivers, that rush 17 yards was the longest game for that. Like even more so than Jefferson, Hawkinson, you name it. And when you look at and Dalvin Cook and Madison, that's a really good 1-2 punch combination of running backs. Like they've been really solid, right? And the fact is, like Madison 2 carries, 0 yards, but his longest game was 3 yards. But he also had a negative, so he had a loss of yardage to cancel that out. So
the one stat that you need to know is that Tony Pollard outgained the entire Minnesota offense by 6 yards. Just by himself, he outgained them by 6 yards.
Yeah.
And he outscored them 14 points. Well, call it 12 points. 12 points to 3.
Yeah.
As well.
Paul's provided a nice little segue to my next question. Dalvin Cook averaged 6.5 yards per rush.
I mean,
did their offensive game unravel on Sunday?
I mean, even 6.5 yards is actually not a bad statistic in a way. Yeah. Like if you're powering through heavily in the run game, but they were forced to pass it. They were forced to move the try and throw the ball. So, whether if Minnesota stuck to the running game, we don't know. But like Gallimore, everybody like from Osadeguzua to Watkins and etc. They were all there, and they were all filling those gaps in the inside run. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lon, I think that 17-yard rush was pretty much going out to the edge on the weak side.
So they were attacking the outside as you'd expect. That has been the weakness. But I mean, the one that got me as well, obviously, Anthony Barr has re-aggravated the hamstring during practice on Saturday. He's now doubtful for the next couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
So Damone Clark was chucked into the deep end again, and first drive he got washed away by one of the offensive linemen. But from that point on, he was coming up and he was getting through the blocks and he was making tackles. So we were minimizing everything as well. So this is.
Will we move on to news and updates because we've got a Mike McCarthy press conference to digest?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yep.
Okay, so Micah Parsons, I'm sure we all had a little tear shed when we saw Parsons not hobble, but gingerly come off the field. He did come back into the game and he finished the game. The line is always hungry and you can't keep him on the sidelines. Mike McCarthy did say in his press conference that he was limited, but he did take part in the practice. What do we think on the short week? Are we a little bit concerned? Are we not concerned at all?
He's good.
Yeah, I'm not generally concerned. Like if he was actually like taken through to the back, then I would have been more concerned. But that's the same. It seemed to be just more of an observation on the side of the field, and like you said, there, Graham, he came back onto the field and he still was still being very productive. So I have no concerns. I think they'll just kind of want to rest him up and just do more like game scouting, like just go walkthroughs and stuff like that, just to kind of when it comes to playing against the Giants on for Thanksgiving. So I'm not worried.
I think you could amputate his legs and still get 3 sacks.
Well, that's the very question I was going to ask you. As Cowboys fans, we're not. We know very well how knee injuries can dismantle a team's season. Is Micah Parsons bucking the trend a little bit because he seems to be bouncing back from some pretty dodgy situations in terms of his legs and his knees and so on. He seems to finish the game and want to get back in there.
Yeah, he's a grown-ass man.
He's a lion.
I think,
he's hungry. He's hungry. He just wants to go out there and ball out. Like that's just that type of blue collar, just like see ball, get ball mentality. And
I wouldn't be surprised if come the off season you get reports that he's had, the MCL, the ACL, the PCL, and every ligament restructured in his body, but he's still back out there come start of training camp and OTAs. He's taken it on his shoulders to be the lifeblood of defense and the team, I think, and everybody's building off it. All last week, that Packers game, I think I said on Thursday that the Packers game might have been very similar to sort of 1992 when we went to Monday Night Football, we lost to the Eagles, and from that point on, the guys got together and said, right, this is it, we're steamrolling from now on. And I think the emphasis last week was that they were all pissed off that they frittered away that 14-point lead against Aaron Rodgers, and they had unfinished business. And as long as they continue with that mindset for the rest of the season, I think this is just going to be. Now you've got all to play for this week. This week's this
is the big one. This is the big one. This is the big one.
Yeah, it's the OBJ Bowl, because obviously he said that he's going to sign with either Dallas or New York Giants. So after this weekend as well. So
yeah, we'll definitely cover that for the pre-game show for sure.
Yeah.
So also a report that Terrell Basham, Dante Fowler, Jonathan Hankins, and Kelvin Joseph are dealing with an illness. Masks were worn at practice today. Rich, are we a little bit concerned about
that? I mean, it's that time of year. You typically get guys coming down with things like this, especially this time of year, wherever you typically are. I don't think you really need to worry. It will probably affect them for this week, but long term, I don't have any real concerns.
They're healthy individuals. It sounds to me as if it's just a bug. It's not. I don't think it's going to keep anybody else.
Yeah, it happens every year. Every year, you get a couple of people. They get a bug. They may be a bit funny for a game, especially if they get it right before the game. If they play, and then they're fine.
Yeah. Well, put it in this perspective, I'm not feeling great myself, and I've already tested for the COVID test, and I'm all negative. I'm all fine. It's just a common cold I've got right now, and I was pure panicking about not even making it to my flight next week. So I know, but we'll leave it at that. But anyway,
that's Paul living in bubble wrap for a week.
Oh, you have no idea.
I'm not even kidding.
So we did touch on Odell Beckham Jr. Reports in the media through a couple of weeks now that he's ready to start talking to teams again. Certainly from what I've seen, the two front runners are the Cowboys and a return to the Giants. Odell Beckham Jr., what do we think? They discussed it in commentary on Sunday. You have to look at individuals like Michael Gallup. How does Michael Gallup feel about something like that?
I don't know, really, to be perfectly honest. I think, we kind of had, even though, when you look back a couple of years ago when we traded for Amari Cooper, we even argued, is Amari Cooper even worth going for a first round? And now in hindsight, yeah, it definitely was. But I don't see, especially with Odell Beckham now, he has matured a lot in the past 2 years. He's no longer the player that threw his helmet and came back and hit him across the face anymore. He's not that type of guy anymore. But for like Gallup, I think he can still learn some different moves and different techniques from a guy like Odell and stuff like that. I mean, I don't see any issue bringing him in at all. As long as it doesn't kill us in the cap, pretty much.
Yep, Rich.
I'm not massively against it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think him to Dallas is a load of hype, to use that word. I think he's just going to end up back with New York, and that's it.
Do you think Beckham will really want to go back to the freezing cold of New York, though?
I don't think he'll want to go back to the freezing cold, but I think he'll want to go back and be the guy, because they've got pretty much not much at the minute at wide receiver.
But I'm trying to think it from Beckham's point of view.
Especially if they win.
Well, This is where I'm thinking when it comes to Beckham, because he knows he's just coming back from a massive injury, and to be thrown in there pretty much full tilt. If he's to play at New York, it's going to be so reliant and heavy on him. For all we know, he might actually get injured within the first week of him going out there. But if you were to kind of distribute him and under the Kellen Moore way of distributing your wide receivers, we actually might get a lot more out of him. So that's where I'm kind of thinking towards that.
I think it'd be useful. I mean, obviously, you're seeing that the Dirty Birds up north are stocking up on the defensive linemen to stop potential Zeke Elliott runs and Tony Pollard. They're obviously strengthening that line to stop us. If you got somebody like Odell, that's another weapon that they can put 8 in the box or whatever they need to do, and you counter with a quick pass to Odell, or you've got another weapon through the air. So I can only see it being better for us. As Paul says, as long as it doesn't kill us on the cap, because obviously we've got a lot of decisions to make in the next couple of years. Hopefully we're looking for a couple of guys. We've got a lot of guys to reconsider, and hopefully we're looking at signing a few of the guys already this off season. So we want to have the money ready. And I think, OBJ, he's got family in North Texas. He's from roundabout North Texas as well. So I think there's a good chance he will. We are serious players. And Jerry was on 105.3 saying that, he's trying not to discuss it because at the moment they are in the middle of negotiations, and he wants to do whatever he can to make sure that we get in there. And we have been critical of the front office, but they have made moves. They haven't made marquee moves, but we're now in a position where we are maybe that one player away, and is Odell Beckham that one player? Who knows?
Okay, another slight angle for you then. Are the Cowboys talking to Beckham Jr. because Jalen Tolbert has been a non-factor?
I think that may be one of the reasons as well, for sure. Like, I'll be perfectly honest, like, Tolbert has been a massive disappointment because I generally thought I had him being our second rounder, like in the draft, compared to Sam Williams. Now I am completely wrong in that department for sure. Like, Sam Williams has completely made me eat so much humble pie in the past 6-7 weeks. So I definitely think Tolbert's definitely been not what we were expecting. It could be one of those years where he might need to sit back and just let someone else with more experience to kind of kick in and maybe kind of help tutor him a little bit. So we don't know.
And one for Rich. Is Tolbert the non-entity because we're seeing Tony Pollard have 6 catches for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns?
I think it's a fair point. I don't think you necessarily have to worry about having another receiving target there when you have someone like Tony Pollard on your team, who obviously when he made the catches he does. I think it's maybe a factor, but Tolbert is definitely the master of his own destiny to a degree, to a very large degree. He just hasn't ultimately shown that he can take on that responsibility and produce and be relied upon to do that yet. I think is the main factor of it. He'll have had opportunities, and he has had opportunities, and they just passed him by. He hasn't seized them. Simple as.
Right, okay. I'm not going to torture you any longer. Let's go offense. Right, we'll get the...
Smile and wave, boys.
Sorry, I guess... Yeah, apologies. I just got cut out.
No worries. No worries. I thought you were going to launch some breaking news there, Paul. I was getting all excited.
No.
So Team 40 Burger is back and hopefully here to stay. Lauren, you're a major historian of Cowboys football. Have the Cowboys ever had a better 1-2 punch than this?
I don't think so generally. I mean, as I've said recently, that you go back to the 1980s, we've never had a single bell cow running back other than Emmitt Smith. I mean, when Tony Dorsett was here, you had Tony Dorsett, you had Ron Springs, you had Preston Pearson. Each of those had a role. All of these guys together, you were getting function out of them, but I wouldn't say you've got this 1-2 punch that you have with Zeke and Pollard, and throw in Malik Davis as well, and you're just fantastic. I mean, this has potential that if we unfortunately do lose Pollard at the end of the season, you've potential that Davis can pick up. He showed quite a lot of burst as well. I could see him stepping in and standing into that role as well.
I will say about Malik Davis, I will give him some props. He knows how to bounce off a tackle.
Oh yeah. Tony Romo raised that exact point that I think Tony Pollard leads the league in tackles after yards after contact.
Yards after contact. He has incredible. His average for yards after contact is a lot better than the vast majority of actual average yards.
So I was talking. I was actually talking about Davis there, but Pollard as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But no, Malik, wasn't it like he bounced off one into another one and then fell forward with drove forward with a whole pack in like the third quarter or something? Like, it was insane, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think he bounced off Booth. I think
that's the one. Like, that was just sheer determination. Like, you ain't taking me down. Like, I'm going.
It was a short yardage, but still, though, it just showed the strength and his power and his run. So, but it gets you exciting, though, like the fact that we've got players that they can just slot in like that.
So situation for you, Paul, to talk us through. They run Pollard on first and second down and switch him out for Zeke, who scores the touchdown on third down. What do we make of that?
Absolutely fine. Like, look, when you're in that position where you're near the FD end zone, you want to use your power run. That's essentially what Zeke is. He is just all about the power run, smack mouth football. Just get it in the end zone. Like,
you saw it there. That was the blueprint. You saw it right there. Exactly what you said. You went down. They kept Pollard in. He unfortunately didn't get it over the line. He was bouncing around a bit. They put Zeke in. Boof. Through he goes.
I think. When I say that there wasn't a negative to talk about, I won't say it's a negative. I say it's more as an observation. If there's one thing I've noticed is it's like whenever we're in the red zone and Tony Pollard is within the 20-yard line and we're running the ball, we're not as effective in comparison to Zeke. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that. So
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, as the real estate gets shorter, you get. Particularly with those two runs on first and second down and goal. I mean, obviously, you're going up. The offensive line didn't block it as well as they could. Jason Ferguson got blown up in one of the plays, which kind of held up Pollard in his progression as well. But that just happens when you've got 8-9 guys that are actually linemen that are on the line. And that's the difference between. We've always said that Zeke Elliott will get you, he can get tackled or he can get hit 2 yards in the backfield and still get you 0 yards or 1 yard. It's very rare that he gets hit at -2 and stays at -2.
Yeah.
Now Pollard showed a bit of bounce. He made his initial push. Didn't get there and was able to keep on his feet and try and bounce around. But by that point in time, everybody had regrouped. I think bringing Zeke on third down and just making sure that you get that as well and put a nail in the coffin. You do what you can to score. So
I want to mention this as well. Did anyone notice? And I made a tweet about this during the game. It's like, you remember what Le'Veon Bell used to do for the Steelers, where he would actually run up to the line of scrimmage and halt and wait to see how the blocks would open up?
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that from Pollard. He was anticipating and waiting to see where the gaps will open up. And even though his design run might be going for the A gap, if that A gap is shut, he'll wait and see if maybe the B gap or going to the other A gap on the other side might open up. He would do that. I thought that was really, really great awareness from Tony Pollard to do that, and it did give us those extra dirty yards moving up the field.
100%. He's paid attention to the past couple of seasons to Zeke and learned from Zeke in his vision. And just because you see something there, don't rush at it straight away. Give it a tick, let it develop, and see what it's like. Because, like one of the comments said just there, Zeke has always had great vision, especially on the goal line. That's one of the reasons he always is able to fall forward and get through, because he'll see it and he'll go high, he'll go low. He knows when to put the ball out and when to tuck it in and protect it. He has brilliant vision, and Tony Pollard has definitely benefited from that. And then he can apply his X factors to that and make the play his own, which is exactly what we saw there in the previous game.
So, going to break out the crystal ball for a minute and say that Tony Pollard does get incredible money from somebody. I'm not going to embarrass the team to say they've got so much cap space, but say he does go and sign for somebody else. Does he sign for that team as a 3-down back?
He won't be a 3-down back. Oh, no, a 3-down back. I thought you mean like a second stringer there. So I do apologize. No, if he's going to that team, he's literally going to be guaranteed to be a starter.
Yep.
But is he a 3-down back?
I think he can be.
Just because if you're gonna pay a running back $10+ million a season, you kind of want him on all 3 downs, do you not?
Yeah.
You want him on all 3 downs. You also want your running back to be able to pound the ball in when you're at goal and short. There's questions on the offensive line, obviously, but Tony Pollard is not that kind of runner. That's not his forte. His forte is when he has more space, when he can operate out there, and he can really, really make you hurt. If you give him space, give him green, he will, obviously green grass, he will seriously make you hurt. Zeke will pound it through. You know it's coming. It's going to come through anyway. If I am concerned about if he goes somewhere else. If that happens, he's going to be expected to do that, and he may not have the best of time doing it.
Yeah,
in those situations.
I think whoever he signs with, I mean, obviously Pollard needs to do his own due diligence, but both whoever he signs with and Pollard himself, they need to have a scheme that can get him to do what he excels at.
Yeah.
And minimize the things that he is a liability in.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we've seen that he's a liability in pass protection. So it probably is more of a ground and pound, or at least get him coming out and I don't know, West Coast offense style. The short passes, outside runs, that sort of thing. You're not going to ask him to go through the A gap 15 times a game because you'll just wear him down. I mean, it'll be like DeMarco Murray signing with the Eagles, and that scheme just didn't work for him. So
Tony Pollard has shown exactly what he is. He is a very, very good player, and he is very good at what he does. But he does have his weak points, like a lot of people do. But he needs to be in a situation where he has that complementary running back. Whether he's 1 or whether he's 2, however you consider it, he needs that complementary player. He needs that power back that can complement his game and the entire running game as well, that also ideally can pick up blocks. And the best place for him to continue to do that may well be Dallas.
Yeah. Right. So before, Graham, if it's okay with you, I'll bring up some of the questions from the comments.
Yeah.
Like so Big Whale is in the house. How we doing, my man? So he's just asking in regards to like the cap effect. If we do bring in OBJ, will we be able to keep Pollard if we pay Beckham? Lauren, you're probably the best person to ask in terms of cap, and yourself, Graham. in terms of that?
Well, just before Lauren answers, we'll go into the cap number. So right now, as it stands, the Cowboys have $6.5 million in cap space, and they have $8.6 million next year.
Yep.
So there is room.
But they've only got about 30 players signed for next year. So you still got to, there's about, I think there's something like 20 players that are all free agents in the next, in the next cycle. So you're going to have to replace them. So some of these guys are obviously, they'll be restricted free agents, so you can get them for cut price deals. But go on, Paul.
I'm glad you just kind of mentioned regards to, like I said, next year, because there is a good question kind of leads into that, and it from DJ Dog, and he's asking, what if we franchise tag Pollard and let Schultz walk? I agree with that, and I know, right, and I have my sources on this. I know what I'm going to say it. Schultz is not going to be here next year. He's not going to be. He's not going to be here next year, and I've got my sources with it. So
I don't want to talk about it.
Yep. So, and the way how Ferguson and Hendershot are kind of helping with the run blocking, and even in the past game as well, I don't see why we need to keep Schultz as much as he's been like Dak's go-to guy. I don't think we'll keep him. Also, another question coming from
very quickly on that, I would say this team does have a problem with letting people walk who are safety valves for their quarterbacks, and then when things don't go very well the next season, they stand around scratching their head, wondering what the heck went wrong, and it's pretty damn obvious, but they just don't seem to be able to see it. So I am really concerned about if that does happen.
Well, you need to think of it in this way as well. Like, if it wasn't for the whole David Njoku deal with Cleveland, Schultz would not be getting that type of money that he's earning in terms of the franchise tag.
No,
that's a fact. Fair. Like, that Njoku trade, the contract really bolstered up everything in terms of the value for tight ends. Like, and rightly so. Schultz is like, wait, hold on a minute. My production was better than Njoku, so I should actually earn more money. And that's why he was wanting a more longer-term deal. But obviously, Dallas had different... They tried to make it work. Didn't happen. So they put him in the franchise tag. And the way how things within... I don't want to mention any details, but Schultz has not really been kind of happy, needless to say. And I think he's... And this is why I think one of his decisions, he is going to be looking for a new team next year.
Yeah.
So just on the question of the salary cap, the running back number would be roughly about $13 to $14 million. Bearing in mind that you're already going to pay Zeke $15 million, can they really have $30 million tied up in two running backs?
Restructuring.
Well,
you need to restructure Zeke.
The franchise.
That kind of brings up to Labas's question there. So it comes to cutting and that as well, but I don't think Zeke will get cut. He wouldn't want to leave Dallas anyway. So he'll do whatever it takes to kind of restructure his contract. He'll still get his money because how many times over the past couple of years we've restructured contracts to make things work? Like we might even restructure Dak's deal again. Who knows?
Yeah, there's too much of an argument to restructure Zeke's contracts now in light of how much Tony Pollard is contributing. They need to say, look, we can't necessarily allocate separate parts of this pie. I hate to use that analogy, but we can't allocate separate parts of this pie to Tony Pollard. So Zeke, we need you to play good and share, and I think he'd be fine with it. But
Lauren, I'm going to bring you back in a second, but just to let you know, guys, that cutting Zeke Elliott would result in $11.8 million in dead cap, which the Cowboys simply cannot afford. Lauren, go for it.
Well, I mean, that's cutting them pre-June 1st. I mean, if you cut him after June 1st, make him a June 1st designation, it lowers it, but obviously spreads it out over the next couple of years. The one thing I would say, that the running back number for this year actually was $9.5 million if you'd franchise tagged him. So it would be a saving on Dalton Schultz, who was $11 million. But
I know, I told you that Njoku deal really bumped up everything up.
Yeah, it all. I think, to be honest, it all depends on. There's going to be a lot of questions to answer at the moment. Kellen Moore seems to be playing himself back into everybody's notebooks for
yeah. Tony
head
Romo
coach.
raised that exact point. He questioned whether both coordinators would be on the team next year.
Yeah.
Yep. So you've then talking about having another potential offensive coordinator. Now, if you hire from within, you've got Nussmeier. Nussmeier knows the system, but maybe McCarthy will want to bring in a little bit more of the Green Bay style of offense that he ran when he was coached there, rather than he's pretty much let Kellen run his own place. Albeit he's now maybe got power of veto on them as they're being called in, and he's saying no, let's stick with the run or whatever. And to be honest, until they set the figures for next year, because obviously they draw a line and they say, right, next year's franchise tag figures will be this for each position. We won't know what it will be. Normally, running back, because of the value of running back, it's actually lower than most offensive positions.
Is it next? Sorry, Lauren. Is it next year the actual salary cap goes up? Is it next season?
It should start. It should start to go up.
It's because of that TV deal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
right.
But it's not going to be an astronomical jump at the moment.
It's just it gives you that little bit more room, because obviously it's more of an inflation, pretty much really an inflation jump.
Yep. But so I think the year after that, I think you will see an above inflation, so it will suddenly jump $30 million or something like that, because you'll be in I think the TDO starts next year, and then it increments over and above that, which is why the structure of Pat Mahomes' deal is such that in the next couple of years that he's going to be on 50 or 60 million a year sort of thing, as part of this $500 million 10-year deal that he's got. So, and they've accounted for the fact that it is going to go up 10 million, 20 million a year or whatever, and you can practically get everybody in without hampering your cap too much.
So I'm conscious that we've gone 44 minutes and we haven't talked about number 4 yet. 3 of Dak's passes hit the ground on Sunday. Rich, take it away.
Yeah, get Rush in. He's past it, isn't he?
We were a certain element of Cowboysization were ready to cut Dak Prescott last Sunday. I have to find that up. That's
kind of shows that
I can't believe people were actually saying that.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible.
People like to be sensationalist, and some of those people, unfortunately, have their own shows depending on your viewpoint. But
I wonder who, Rich.
Yeah, this is why you don't flap like a flock of seagulls and panic, especially when you have a guy that, like it or not, has proven and has previous in actually being pretty decent. There are teams that would cut off limbs to have Dak Prescott, whether you personally like him or not. The guy does produce. All that was needed was for him to shake off a bit of rust, and that's done.
Sorry, but Lebowski, being the ultimate troll that he is, needs to improve his accuracy.
I think the thing about Dak really. I think the thing about that, and we're seeing it with another team in the NFL. Dak will always be his biggest critic. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that are said about Dak because he is the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, but he is his own biggest critic. And he will step up and say, look, that loss is on the Green Bay loss is on me. I threw the 2 picks and all that. He's not going to say, if he's asked about, does he feel he's let the defense down? He's not going to sit there and go, no, I don't. but this isn't talking Jets. So, but the one thing about this week, I mean, I thought it was brilliant. Tony Romo was in the building, and we had 2 flashbacks to the 2 playoff losses against the Green Bay Packers.
Crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had CD Lamb on the sideline with his toe-tapping catch, and you had Noah Brown with the football move.
Oh, what was his name? Do you know who that reminded me of as well? That one play that was like a twofer. That reminded me of what was his name with the Michael Jackson catch? Was it Williams?
Terrence Williams.
I think.
Oh, was it Terrence Williams? I can't remember.
Sounds like a Terrence Williams kind of. They've been our.
I think it was Terrence Williams. I'm gonna have to Google this because this is going to annoy me.
Terrence
But it was that
against
style
Seattle.
of catch. It was literally, it was like all the Michael Jackson memes came out afterwards. Grabbed it, toes just inside the line, and just fell, just keeled over, like a tree. You should have yelled timber. It was beautiful. Oh my god.
So Paul, another element of that, 10 catches, 10 different players caught catches on Sunday. What do you make of that? That's incredible, isn't it?
Again, just shows the distribution being thrown out. It's like there's no. I mean, even CD Lamb you would consider to be our number 1 wide receiver. It doesn't really feel like we actually do have a number 1 receiver. It just shows you we're trying to make defenses second guess about everything. No one expected Tony Pollard to be such an impact being as a wide receiver in that game. No one expected that. Like we going into this game against Minnesota, we expected to be up against a really good the pre-game show. We thought our running game needs to step up. Blah 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 blah. I mean, what was it? We got 151 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns, both of them coming from Zeke. But with Tony Pollard, he got 2 touchdowns from 109 yards receiving. 109 yards.
Yeah,
it's incredible. 307 yards in total.
Do you know what? This is the first time in franchise history that we've had a running back scored 2 touchdowns and his stablemate scored 2 touchdowns for catching as well. So you've had the 2 touchdowns rushing and the 2 touchdowns passing.
So a lot of history was made in that game actually, because that was our biggest away win, like on the road, etc. Like for the deficit wise, like 37 points difference, like that statistic on its own is just mind blowing to me. Like the fact that we did that in their backyard, I still can't believe that happened.
Sent them into a negative point differential.
Yeah, the other sort of history thing as well. The last time that 2 Cowboys running backs had multiple touchdowns, you have to go back to the early 80s when Robert Newhouse and Tony Dorsett were playing. Wow. So, so you're talking I think it was 83.
They were all right, weren't they? Those guys.
Yeah.
If I remember.
I mean, early 80s, they were in the NFC Championship game in 3 years straight, and unfortunately, we came up against the catch. We came up against strike shortened seasons and things like that.
So just to kind of follow up to the original question that Graham was asking me and I brought the comment from Labosky there. It's like I'm totally fine with that point as well. I'm absolutely fine with we're not treating it as if we do have a number 1 wide receiver. I'm happy the fact that we're just actually moving the ball forward. As long as we get points in the end zone, I don't care who's catching the ball. End of the day, if we've got players in our squad can make plays, I'm all for that. The more it's distributed out to different players, great. That's brilliant because it's going to keep defenses, like I said, thinking all the time. Like it's not going to be like what happened with the Detroit Lions with Matt Stafford and Megatron all those years. Like that's all you heard was that combination. It was the same with Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown or Brady and Gronk. Essentially, we don't really even though Lamb, in terms of he's a first round draft pick, but we're still kind of utilizing him in a more rotational way. So I'm happy. I'm perfectly happy for that. So I don't know what you guys think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We didn't see Brian Anger until the middle of the third quarter.
That's crazy. That's just crazy. That just shows, like, that's more of just how well polished our offense was in that game. It really is.
And the strange thing is, obviously, we talked earlier about there being illness going around the Cowboys room at the moment. Anger showed up on the injury report on Friday with an illness, and that caused me on Saturday to come onto our group chat and say, "So who the hell's our backup punter?" We don't have a Danny White as far as I was aware. And then it's not just as a backup punter. You've got who's going to be holder as well, and you've got the whole schematics of the
receiving the long snap,
the holder and all that.
Probably Michael Parsons.
Well,
He'd
Michael
do it.
Parsons will be Michael Parsons will do anything.
He'd probably do it well.
Just to round off the 40 burger discussion, we've seen Jerry Jones in the press. I think it was today. It was either today or yesterday that he suggested that Tyron Smith would come back in to start at left tackle. We did see Jason Peters play some at left tackle. Rich, you're the O-line man, along with myself. What do you make of the left side of the line?
I think we all are, Graham. I think we're all our O-line
pretty
guys.
much we're all in session tonight. One thing I do want to say is Steele had a good night.
Steele's been great all season, mate. It really has.
Yeah. But he had a real good night. Like, if you go and watch, he had a really good night. The left side was pretty decent, really, in the grand scheme of things. It's like you said at the top, it's hard to come away with a negative. The only real negative you can come away with, in my mind, is that they scored 3 points.
But that's not. But that our line still. Well, that's on our defense more than anything. But still, though, we still managed to.
But exactly, it was insane.
But I will say this though, I think we owe an apology to an offensive lineman as well as Tyler Bayadish.
I thought you were going to say Connor McGovern.
Him as well, but I'm more so on Bayadish, who has been like a certified starter for the past couple of seasons now. He's definitely, like, since he's went with Duke Manyweather, like under his off-season program, we're seeing a massive transformation in terms of like he's really went up that projection. Same with Turnstile as well. He's trained under Duke Manyweather as well. It just shows you that what you do in the off-season plays a major part going into actual regular season football, and we're seeing that right now. Like, no one would thought, like, we thought our O-line was going to be the weakest point. But don't get me wrong, there has been moments of switching off at times in certain games, like in the Green Bay game, for example, and like the Tampa Bay. But overall, collectively, from the 10 games we've played? Yeah, 10 games we've played this year so far. Our O-line have been very, very good. Like, it's not up to the Great Wall of Dallas level, but it's progressing bit by bit up to that again. So
if you can hold the likes of Danu Hunter, Harrison Smith, who's a safety that likes to come into the box, Eric Kendricks, Zadarius Smith, no sacks.
Yep.
Dak did not get sacked at all.
It's amazing what continuity does.
And the only time he was close to getting sacked was because Dak actually spun around.
Turned in,
And
even then, I was
somehow
managed. Romo didn't turn around and say, "Oh, that's giving me a flashback to TJ Watt."
Yeah. And last thing I really want to say, and Lauren knows exactly what I'm going to say, Joe Philbin.
Yep.
Like I've been this guy's biggest critic for the past couple of years, and
me too.
I don't know what he's done this year, something different, but like I said, there's been we switch offs there and there. I have criticized him, but overall, he's completely changed his coaching style this year, and I don't know if that may be down to influence from other outside coaches to help him out, help cater these specific type of players, whatever. But Philbin's done a great job. So I'd got to give him props.
I think we need to change the title of this podcast to the Humble Pie Podcast for this.
That's a fair one.
Absolutely.
I mean, while we're at giving dues where they're due, what are we going to say to and about Kellen Moore?
I'm still on the fence with him, to be fair.
I'm on the fence, but the guy just went out and orchestrated
he did
40 burger.
But in hindsight to that, why couldn't we do, like, in terms of like decisions on the play, why couldn't we do something more effective like what we did just there against like the Green Bay? That's my
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Like
that's my thoughts
in a bubble.
That's the only my problem's not so much Kellen Moore. Like he can do some really nice, effective plays, but he's not consistent in terms of the game plan. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think his game awareness in terms of situations can be a bit very out there sometimes. And you're like, why did we do that? Like where we could, like for example, the Green Bay game where we were 3rd and 6. We had 2 attempts. We could have easily had 2 attempts to rush the ball to get that first down in that overtime, rather than throwing the ball.
So rather than kicking the field goal.
Yeah. So, that's it.
For me, it's 2 games. It's the Packers game and the Lions game. I'm not ready to sign Kellen Moore up to be a head coach because of those 2 games. We got the win against the Lions, but our offense made hard work of it, and our defense kept us in that game long enough. Yep. So I want to see it every single week.
But the one thing I'd counter with that, though, I mean, the Lions have come on since losing to us. They've come on with a 3-game win streak, and they've knocked, obviously they knocked the Giants out last weekend. So, they are no slouches. Obviously, beginning of the season, they had the number 1 offense in the league as well in terms of points scored. Unfortunately, they had the 32nd defense in terms of points allowed. But just couple minor alterations that here and there during the bye week, and they played us tougher, and they've then gone on and put 3 straight wins against together for them. And I mean, that's again. I'm not a historian of the Detroit Lions, but you'd have to go back probably about 20 or 30 years for them to have a 3-game win streak. So
I think Labarsky just nailed this.
100%.
They're coming and just nailed it. So Labarsky just mentioned the problem with Kellen. He gets a piece of success and it goes to his head, and he gets cute again. He just needs to show maturity and discipline as a play caller, game in and game out. That is spot on. That's the problem. Like, I don't know if it's just success. Like, this is why I'm kind of a wee bit worried for the pregame now. If he's going to start being fancy, even though we've already played the Giants before, what's he going to do in this game? If he can just do what he did against Minnesota in terms of like the less is more approach, then we can get a lot more effective football team.
Exactly. Hopefully he's learned his lesson, and this is where I was wanting to go with it in terms of in a bubble in that game, give him his dues. Now go out and do it again. Prove everyone wrong. Don't get cute with it. Don't let it get to your head. And show that this team is consistent, that you are consistent. You can lead and orchestrate this team to be consistent on the offensive side, because we know the defense can deliver.
Yeah.
Go show it. And everyone will take note.
I don't know if you're ready now, Graham, but do you think we should move on to the defense? Because that's nearly
we've reached the hour mark.
Show. And we've not even talked about the defense yet.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Do you like that, Kirk?
Oh, man.
I didn't see much bling on the plane either.
It's because Micah Parsons stole the chain. He was like,
I'm just throwing out the one-liners. I'm just boom, boom, boom. You're just enjoying it.
See, again, I'm going to go back to the whole point with what Sean McCoy was saying on Speak. Like, for him to say that Cousins is better than Dak Prescott, I don't know what. Like, I don't know if it's just so many knocks to the head when he was playing for Philadelphia. I don't know what it is.
He ain't. He's
a fool. Absolute fool. And the fact that Kirk Cousins actually got taken off the game just speaks words itself. Having Mullins in the game,
yep,
man.
I think they genuinely thought that Kirk Cousins was going to end up hurt. There's only so much punishment you can take. I mean, let's start there. The D line in terms of QB pressures. We're running out of adjectives to describe this unit. I mean, is this the best pass rush in the league? It's got to be, isn't it?
Hands down,
we're about 8 or 9 sacks ahead of the nearest,
absolutely
the nearest rival. So, and I think we're on track for breaking the records again for our franchise. I mean, I think the franchise record 62 back in 1983 or something like that. Now, fair enough. You have to anything before 81. They never actually counted sacks. So it was never a recognized stat until about 1982 or so. But I mean, this is certainly probably our best. Certainly beats the years of Charles Haley and co. For domination in terms of getting your pressure on the quarterback.
I mean, 5 players got to Cousins, including my best friend DeMarcus Lawrence. Rich, talk us through it. I mean, talk about variety.
It was at that point where I think it was you in the admin group chat was just turning around and was like, you get a sack, you get a sack, you get a sack, you get a sack.
Was it Oprah Winfrey?
Oprah Winfrey. Yeah.
It was genuinely ridiculous. Like, you expect that kind of spread to a quarterback with his receivers on a good day, not with your defensive line and your defensive unit getting sacks on the quarterback. Like, frick me. Like, is this the best pass rush in the league? Like, yeah. Frickin' A, it is. Next question.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, I don't know if I was making it up in my own head, but the lack of flags on defense as well. That's got to be.
I think there was one DPI, was there?
Oh, I can't remember, but in fairness, like I did feel like Diggs got lucky not to get called on Jefferson. To be fair, but that was what I was trying to make that point early on for Vikings fans. Oh, we should have got that. It's like, yeah, you're probably right, but the score still would have been 40 points to 10. So it doesn't.
They're gonna go.
Let it go, pretty much.
They're going to come and go in every game. And as much as he got lucky there, he didn't get lucky in that he just missed the pick. So everything balances out in its own way, in my mind.
Just to show that we are balanced on this show, that was kind of a segue. Not many teams manage a defensive holding call on the defensive line. I can't remember which D lineman it was, but they hold the center. You don't see that very often. We were pulling out all the stops on Sunday.
There you are. PI, hands to the face. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So I mean, the pressures, I think, is the main reason why they got away from Dalvin Cook. I mean, he is one of the best backs in the league, and they literally didn't have time to run the ball.
Just to remember as well, so I don't know, I mentioned this on the pregame show that our good friend Professor O, aka Matt Owen, does work for the Cowboys Wire. He does a lot of data analytics and stuff like that. And he made the tweet saying under Kirk Cousins, when pressured, his completion rate is under 50%.
Yep.
Like
it's something stupid like 36%
it's ridiculous
or something. Yeah,
I think it was like 47.3% or something like that. Whenever he's pressured, like, and by my goodness, how much like I kind of felt sorry for Kirk Cousins in a way.
Yep.
Nah. Former commander. Nah.
It's like
we are ruthless.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that meme. Like, no, a meme. It's the clip from Rocky. It's like, throw him the damn towel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's go around the house. Who was our defensive player of the game?
It'd have to be Parsons.
You've got to think about it. It was incredible. You've really got to think about it.
The obvious choice would have to be Parsons, but trying to look and breaking it down and stuff like that. I'm going to say it, but we actually did get to see Jabril Cox play out there as well. Like, even though, but I wouldn't say he was a standout, but it's just good to see him come out. But in terms of everybody else, Brown had a great game. Diggs, I would say Diggs was probably, when you in retrospective, going up against arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Only put him to what?
Traveling with him.
Was it 18 yards he only got in total? Let me just double check. No, total of 33 yards and 3 targets.
Yeah, and if he only had a bit of him on his hand as well, he would have made that fantastic one-handed interception as well.
Oh,
yeah.
So close. That would have been.
I think for me, I think Diggs deserves the. I would say I would maybe push him ahead because the way how Minnesota were playing, they were forced to be playing.
Yeah.
They forced to play more in the passing route to kind of get Jefferson and Hawkinson more involved. So, I mean, obvious choice is Parsons, but I'm going to say Diggs for me.
Yeah, there's a conversation to be had between Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson to be the best receiver in the league, and Jefferson was a non-event on Sunday. Really,
2 games in a row, pretty much, and that's what Labasi's just mentioned there. In 2 games, Jefferson's 5 catches for 55 yards.
Here's one for you, Rich. Will we see an end to the Dorrance Armstrong coming out party, or is it going to last the entire season?
That's a good one. I mean, I hope it lasts for the entire season.
Go on, Paul.
I hope it lasts.
Keep the ball rolling. Dorrance Armstrong is having the season of all seasons for him. Like, of all the criticism we had him being one of Jerry's guys, like, as a good old Stephen Jones, we like our guys. Dorrance is one of their guys, but and somebody mentions that, do we miss Randy Gregory? The answer is no.
No.
Like,
and I'll eat humble pie on that one.
Yeah, Dorrance Armstrong has stepped up. He's now on a career best of sacks, career best in pressures. I mean, and we're just past the halfway point of the season. Just past it. So
I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say yes.
I don't see how we can jinx it. I don't really like, especially like when you look overall, we have been that defense. Like, the only bad game we did have defensively was last week.
I mean, the other thing as well you can say is, right, for the money that we were going to pay Randy Gregory, we got Dante Fowler as well. Combined, they have 12 sacks on the season. 5 for Dante Fowler, 7 for Dorrance Armstrong. Dorrance Armstrong has been knocking the ball loose as well, recovering fumbles.
Yep.
Special teams. I think the problem with Dorrance Armstrong, the first 3 or 4 years in the league, he was behind guys like Randy Gregory, guys that were basically brought in to take on the number 1 role effectively, or the number 2 if outside the DeMarcus Lawrence. He wasn't getting the playing time. The last couple of years, due to injuries or whatever, you've seen a little bit more of him. And, obviously he took a step last year. This year he got the contract. The Cowboys rewarded him, showed faith in him, and he's paying it back in spades at the moment with everything that he's getting. And it's purely the amount of snaps he's getting that he's allowing to develop more than he ever has, because he was always a sort of spot player coming in 2-3 snaps a game or 2-3 snaps a drive just to give Randy Gregory a breather or whatever. And he's now out there, and I mean, thank God he's not hitting the market next year, because that would be another absolute dismantle of our defense if you're having to pay all of that as well. So
what's the kind of report card we've got on second round pick Kelvin Joseph? What do we make of him so far?
I'm not sold on him, to be honest.
Not to bring the show down.
Special teams player.
Yeah. As a corner, I think he's got a hell a lot to improve on. But special teams, he's a bat out of hell. He's really effective when it comes to like for punt or kickoff. He's really effective.
It's not a great return for a second round pick, is it, Rich?
It's
no,
not a great return at all. But this time,
yeah.
But
the reason I bring it up is obviously because we don't have the depth that we did at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Thank goodness for Deron Bland.
Oh
because
man,
he's come in and jumped up the depth chart in no uncertain terms.
He's been great. He's been great, Deron Bland. Like, people thought he would have been like a practice squad and stuff like that, but he's really stepped up as well. But I kind of want to bring up Labasi's because you mentioned second round draft pick.
Go on.
What about this year's second round draft pick? The one that's been making me eat humble pie all year, Sam Williams.
Not just yourself, Paul. I think
a lot of people.
That suplex. That suplex was sick.
Hey, speaking about suplexes, just in a different conversation.
I know exactly who you're.
Did anyone say John Ridgway actually power bombs? oh my goodness, that was ridiculous. Power bomb during a game.
Mad, but Sam Williams is having a real good season. You can see the improvement more or less from game to game with him. He's having a really good time. And return on investment conversations.
Yeah.
Easy money.
And we've got him for 4 years.
Exactly.
So we'll bring it up again. This is an 8-1 offense they were facing. Now we all have our own opinions on Kirk Cousins, but he is. I would describe him as above average. He is certainly not the worst quarterback in the league.
No.
Up against a stud running back, Dalvin Cook. He's been a fantasy star for a long, long time. 3 down back. Justin Jefferson, arguably the best back in the league. They were non-events on Sunday.
It was very much one of those games where like people would turn around and say, oh, okay, but you beat such and such. You played whoever and all the rest of it to try and take it out. It's like, okay, fair enough. That's a valid point. But if you're going to play teams who are not that great, then you best be scoring a buttload of points. And I think the same thing happens there in terms of his weakness being pressure. And the Cowboys brought a ton of it, negated pretty much the entire offense, and put all those points up and stopped them in their tracks. That is the kind of performance you expect when you're playing, when you have that kind of matchup. If they were still scoring points and they were doing as well, then you can have that kind of conversation and you can start taking stuff away from it. But that is exactly what you expect. If you're going to have that kind of a matchup, you need to exploit it. And the good teams exploit it.
Yep. And I think, obviously, I joked on Thursday night that you need to tell Kirk Cousins that this was prime time game, and for 2.5 quarters it was the game went off. It was the game of the week for CBS until they pulled the plug nationally, and you only got it was only in Minnesota and in Texas that you were getting the game, But I think, as I say, that sack on the third play from scrimmage, that just seemed to rattle Kirk Cousins completely. And from that point on, he was sort of ducking and diving and seeing ghosts almost. And, he lost his left tackle, and, they just had nothing. And you talk about Kellen Moore, but I mean, I don't think the Minnesota Vikings, actually, their offensive coordinator had a good game plan because he couldn't make the adjustments. Excuse me.
No, I bring up this comment. Great comment by DJ Dog. Diggs travelled with Jefferson on Sunday.
Yeah, said that earlier. He travelled.
We heard Tony Romo say that if you claim a guy on the other side of the ball, you better be ready to go and back up your talk. Diggs did that in spades, Is that something we could see going forward, that Diggs travels with the other team's number one? Because it certainly worked on Sunday.
Well, I mean, he's shown he's capable. It's always been, coming out of last season and into this season, it was the criticism, all the criticisms of him in that he just plays in space. He allows a lot of yards, etc., etc. And you can take your views on that. But he's showing now that he doesn't do that. He's not just a one-trick pony, and he can travel with a damn good wide receiver. He's showing that. He's showing that this Cowboys secondary is able to address a team however they need to, or however they think is best to do it. They can do it. They're able to do it. It doesn't matter how it needs to happen. He doesn't have to do it, quote unquote, his way, the way he normally does it, playing it like a wide receiver. He can do what needs to be done effectively from a traditional sense.
Yeah.
So Paul,
he's certainly taken strides this year from last year. I think he's still got a weakness when you ask him to play against a guy in the slot. He's more of an outside cornerback, but that'll be what he goes and sits down next season or next off season and says, right, I need to work on this.
Yes.
And he'll have his experts that he'll be working with, and obviously helps when you've got a brother who's a all-pro wide receiver as well, and you're in against him. So he'll come back even better next year, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, are you looking forward to trying to renegotiate with Diggs in 2023? That'll be good fun.
Oh, man. Man, we've got so many big head decisions. Like, don't forget, there was Parsons coming up a couple of years' time. There's Diggs. Like, yeah, it's... Do I have faith in the front office to get stuff done? I do have faith. Like, when it comes to the key players, like the Diggs and stuff like that, they'll want to keep him because they know how much market value they bring to that in terms of merchandise. Like, we could argue back then with Byron Jones, he didn't really sell like extra money in terms of outside of football, in terms of merchandise and stuff like that, whereas Diggs does. Like, because what the type of player Diggs brings to the table on the field. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Byron Jones when he played for us as a corner. Like, he was the one no one wanted to pass to, but did he make the shutdowns as much? Did he do the interceptions and picks? Not as much, but he was still a good quarterback. But when you transpired to Trevon Diggs, with his name being number 7, it sells more. I think Jerry was like, no, we can't afford to lose that. They want to try and keep him as much as possible.
I don't think they're going to want a repeat of.
Don't want to repeat that with Byron Jones letting him go.
They don't want to repeat that. I also don't think they want a repeat of the initial situation with Randy Gregory, where it was kind of on the line, and then
good point.
Potential,
yeah,
right at the last second, and then he went, "Do you know what? F you, I'm going over here." I don't think they're going to take those kinds of risks as readily, even though it worked out. I think they may be a little bit safer this time round.
Yeah, who wants to hazard a guess at what Diggs' cap number is for this year?
I'm sure you're going to tell us. Because I don't know.
I don't know. I'm going to rough guess maybe like $1.5 million or something like that.
$1.7 million.
I wasn't far off. That would be rough guessing.
Is there a better value across the league right now? I mean, seriously. They're going to have to get this guy done.
Well, yeah, Micah Parsons, he'll be on about 1.5 at the moment.
True, that's another good shout. Yeah, that's another good shout. So I think we've praised both sides of the ball enough. Let's move on to the third and most important unit of the Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Maher. Like I'm sure we've all eaten our words at some point. He has missed 2 field goals all season. He kicked a 60-yarder. They told him to do it again, and he went back out and
did it better.
Had an even better attempt. I mean, I
just want to say,
does this continue? Does it continue?
I just want to say, Bret Maher, for what you're doing so far, I do apologize for anything I have ever said about you.
Yep.
Just you keep doing what you're doing, son. Keep it going.
Yep. Yeah,
how sick must that have felt? Like, how good must that have felt to get it denied you and then go out and do it again?
It felt like
and then just be like, and just walk off.
It was definitely like it was like a walk-off kick, like to the referees. He's like,
yeah,
it's like, oh, you're gonna do me that? Well, watch this.
Like, if ever there was a time for him to do it, like for someone to strut off the field, that would have been it. Like arm swinging, giving it the full boss, that would have been acceptable, and everyone would have been like, "Yeah, fair on. Well done."
Well, you almost did see him doing that, but he was just slightly more guarded with it than obviously the Minnesota who got done for taunting. But yeah, I mean, obviously again we were all complaining why didn't he try a 53-yarder in Green Bay? But I mean, this was a no pressure kick. If he'd missed it, there was 5 seconds before the ball would have ended. By the time it had been downed or whatever, it'd be the end of the half anyway. So it was a no pressure kick. Sure enough, the refs tried to make it pressure packed by they took Dallas called a timeout after the catch. And, so they had the full 90 seconds there. You probably had about 20 seconds to set up the ball as well. You're talking almost 2 minutes before they then actually said, wait a minute, we need to review this. That is just absolutely shocking.
I agree. There's been a lack of turpin time, and I don't like it.
What I do like about Turpin, though, was one of the returns. Obviously, people are saying he's 155 pounds soaked through. How's he going to survive in the league? There was one play where the Minnesota player tried to lower the boom on him, and he came off worse. So don't think that Turpin's going to go down easy. He can pack a punch when he's taking a tackle. So I was quite impressed with that. But and just even though Brian Anger as well, I mean, 2 punts the whole game and averaged, I think it was 49 yards a punt as well. I mean, that's, to me, our special teams gets an A as well, I think, to be honest.
Special teams gets an A- just because Shane Williams 2.0 doesn't get a touchdown yet. And until that happens, I'm not giving them a straight A. It's that simple.
Right.
Paul, it's certainly a lot easier.
I want it. I don't care. Everything else can go fine. I just want to see Turpin just get it and just go off like an F-14 and just accelerate and bye-bye. Thank you.
Paul, it's a lot easier to love your team when you don't have to convert on 4th down, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Big time.
What was the 3rd down conversion rate again?
Something like
find
12.
that out for you.
Wait a minute.
Was it only
70%?
70%. Yeah.
According to NFL.com, 70%. The Vikings converted 9%.
And there was only 1 punt in the game, wasn't there? Just the one punt.
No, there was a punt in the 4th as well.
Right.
There was a punt. So an easy day at the office for Brian Anger as well.
Yeah, if your opponent's doing that, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, certainly to wrap up the whole game, it felt like 2016, 2017 Cowboys, didn't it? I mean, just going through some of the stats for you, 37 minutes time of possession, no sacks allowed, no interceptions thrown. We didn't fumble the ball. Highest scoring margin on the road in Cowboys history.
I'll tell you one word.
We're trying to be balanced, but it was pretty good.
I'll tell you I'm all about my one word summaries. The one word I'm going to say about that Cowboys team against the Vikings was clinical.
Yeah,
that's a strong one.
Flawless is another good one.
There you go. There you go.
Dominant.
I think flawless is actually the winner on that one. I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, should we start paying the bill shortly?
Just one last one. Cooper Rush, 4 or 5.
I forgot he came on the field. I forgot about that.
You know, like the hits just keep on coming. Boom, 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 boom.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on there, Graham. Look who's arrived on the chat. Jamie has arrived. So Jamie, I don't know if anyone recalls what he put as his prediction, and I don't think any of us he was probably the biggest doubter on that. I can't imagine how Jamie must have felt after seeing that game. Oh, mate, unreal.
Yep.
So Jamie of subtitle.
So Jamie subtitle. So have we got any more points to pick up on our Sunday, or are we just ready to? Are we ready for Turkey Day?
Let's do it all again.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm ready for Turkey Day. But yeah, let's go and pay the bills, and we'll get ourselves out the road. So yes, guys, if you are planning going to a Dallas Cowboys game, like myself, next week, going for the Colts and Texans game, be sure to go away the Cowboys experience for the ultimate meet and greet, stadium tours, get great game tickets and the ultimate tailgating experiences and much more. Get to meet players like Jay Novacek, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Hall of Famer Drew Pearson, and many more. Like I said, guys, we've used Cowboys experience in the past and do treat you like absolute royalty. So be sure to go check their website at cowboysexperience.com and be sure to reference the reference code UK Cowboys. And guys, what do you get if you use the discount code?
You get free stuff.
Rich is really good at explaining how to do it. Rich, just take it away. Tell the folks at home how to do it.
I don't understand how people I'll let them off because I've been away for a while, right?
Mine keep it PC friendly and professional.
PC friendly, that's fine. I've been pretty good. I don't think I've sworn all night. I think I've been pretty good this time.
Well, you almost split one out.
I said frick. That was it. But I've been away for a while. Some people may have forgotten. But it's pretty easy. You use the codes, you get free stuff. It is that simple. Don't, for the love of God, use the code. It's free and it's stuff. Use it.
Yeah. It's like a nice wee goodie bag with lots of cowboy stuff. What more do you want? So be sure to go check them out. And obviously, finally, we need to give a big shout out to our fellow content creators, like of all the official channels from DallasCowboys.com. We're talking Cowboys, Hang with the Boys, The Break. You got the guys from 105.3, The Fan, Blogging the Boys, where you can hear myself and Meg Murray talking on the World's team, and I don't know if you guys know as well, but the guys from the Cowboys Can Fund, they're actually on the road right now, going to Dallas for the Thanksgiving game right now. They were there in Minnesota, and if you watch their reaction videos of them at the game, it is absolutely brilliant. So you should go and check them out as well. Go and see like Jay Tuck at CFO Sports, Pick 6 Sports with our guest from the pregame show next. And yeah, go and check everybody out. You'll not be disappointed about any shortage of any Cowboys content.
Yep.
And after you do, make sure you come back and you use your code to get free stuff. Every time you use the code, you get free stuff. An Eagles fan cries. That's a fact.
Yeah. That's one thing we like to see is cry, Eagles cry.
Cry, Eagles cry.
Pints of Eagles tears. That's what I like to see. And
that's all I drink all night.
And there's a good saying what my co-host Meg always says: Dallas forever, Philly for never. So we'll leave it at that.
Well,
looking forward to getting those t-shirts shortly as well.
Yeah, definitely, man.
I think we'll wrap up week 11 there. Mike will be delighted. An hour and a half, spot on for time. That is
You're welcome, Mike.
Superb.
Yep.
Thank you to my 3 starters on offense for managing your QB through the game. I don't think I coughed too often. I don't know if I caught it in the audio. Thank you to Lauren, thank you to Paul, thank you to Rich, thank you to Team 40 Burger, thank you to McCarthy, thank you to Quinn, thank you to Kevin Moore.
Like to thank my mum, my dad.
All right. Let's just go out quite scary, guys. Let's go.
So the one thing to say is we're back tomorrow night. Obviously, with it being Thanksgiving, we're back tomorrow night.
Yep.
And if you remember what our Thanksgiving shows are like, we normally hook up with Barry and Cowboys Experience, and we normally have a few special guests.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it, guys.
You don't want to miss tomorrow night. Believe me. If everything comes off, Tomorrow night's going to be a good one.
Yeah. I actually almost gave it away by giving a wee clue there, but no, I'm not going to do that actually. But no, but you guys, no. I don't want to ruin it. Don't want to ruin it. But guys, be sure to swing by tomorrow, 9 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Central time if you're there in the States. We'll be here tomorrow because obviously, like Lawrence saying, Thanksgiving games on Thursday, so we're doing our pre-game show against the Giants tomorrow. So don't miss out.
You like that? You like that?
And with that being said, I'm calling tonight. See you soon, guys.
Enjoy Turkey Day.
Yeah, catch you tomorrow night, guys.
Enjoy. Catch you tomorrow. I'm already.